This one is called Imprints and Storms. When I was in 3rd grade, the teacher praised that friend named Maddie for the poem she wrote about pumpkins. She received such an exclamation for using words like crunchy and slimy, sensory appeal like seeds slithering through her fingers. Meanwhile, I sat at my desk, staring mildly at a poem about planets. The wonder and splendor, the everlasting expanse, the mystery and possibility. It was that moment that I realized I belonged in stars, and floating and dreaming, forever chained to the sky. It would come to define me. I wondered if that friend named Maddie felt the same way about pumpkins that I did about planets. I met poetry again in the 6th grade. It was no assignment, no contest, no competition, but instead a first crush left undone, a yelling in the other room left unspoken, a question about God left unattributed, and a wonderment about meaning left unfulfilled. My mind became a storm. It was that gray that tears instead of settles, and I couldn't stop questioning. Poetry found me no answers, but instead something more profound. I was taken by the fingers, with a scowl swiped from my unhardened stare. I was stripped of masks and untied from my display. I was undrowned in success and stolen by the sky. Yes, poetry found me no answers, but it made me comfortable with the I don't knows, with the winding descriptions out of place, out of time, out of doomed to success, out of expectation, and into those physical sensations that somehow resulted in these feelings, understanding just out of reach, but it wasn't about knowledge. It was about honesty, discovery, accepting the storm inside. It was in 8th grade that poetry saved my life. Something happened in my head and not by external experience. Something happened in my head that made the stress unbearable without blood. Something happened in my head that made me believe it would be better after death. Poetry curbed no urges, but it helps them not to be bottled away, stored till explosion. Since then, it's been a battle. Winning or losing, I let go of answers. But when that friend Marissa's father died, I couldn't grasp at any explanation as to why she could not find his sarcastic remarks anymore. She could not be held or tell him about the man she'd someday marry. Her little brother would find his first memory at a funeral. Only poetry knows. And when I spent that afternoon driving through the mountains looking for that artist friend, not knowing if I'd find her dead or alive, and eventually seeing her with those sleeves pulled down low, sobbing in the wind, whipping her hair around, I wanted to run to hold her, but my fight was retreated by a ranger, and I watched as a dozen officers sink in until she was taken away and received 9 stitches about the artery in her right wrist. I couldn't describe what it was like finally holding her again, knowing that her blood almost stopped. I couldn't describe what it was like seeing inside her arm, the artery flexing and the sleeve stained. I couldn't describe the way her scars feel 3 months later as I trace their imprint of this sadness against my own. Only poetry knows. And that first time I felt her lips, I couldn't describe to you the calm that followed, the completeness, the peace that dispersed from her to my head to my heart. I couldn't describe to you the trust and safety felt in her arms, unlike the chaos felt in his. Only poetry knows. There are times, not so long ago, and sometimes right now, that the storm in my head is not calmed in blue ink written on lined pieces of paper. I need it in blood. There are times I tear myself open and map out my innards from my hip to my knees, and I couldn't describe the relief I feel from tragedy to simple composure. The times poetry was my life, and the times it just saved me. There are times when I lie on the tracks and wonder when the train will come, but there are also times when I flutter and sing and can't find when this piece will end. One time or the other, I couldn't say. Only poetry knows.